Hi, this is Andy from GPS Training. In this video we're taking a look at the new recently released Garmin EPIX Pro Gen 2 Sapphire watches. So we're going to look at what's changed from the original EPIX Gen 2 watches that came out in January 2022. So in the video we're really just going to talk through what the differences are, what's new, what are the new features. We will at a later date do some walk and talk videos and do some more in-depth videos of using the new range of watches and all of the new features. But it's really just to give you an idea for anyone who's seen the original EPIX Gen 2, what are the differences. So the first thing you're going to see is we've got actually 3 watches laid out in front of us because we now have 3 different sizes, a watch to suit all wrist sizes. So with the original Gen 2 EPIX watch, it was just available with a 47mm bezel, which is the one I've got in the middle here. But laid out in front of us, we have a smaller 42mm and we have a larger 51mm to the right. So I'm just going to lift the lid open on the boxes. We've actually got some new finishes as well, and I'll just talk through the sizes, the length of the bands and the actual weight of the watches. So the 42mm is the smaller one on the left hand side, and this one we've got with the soft gold finish on the bezel, and it's like a light sand band. So the size of this one is 42mm by 42mm and the depth is 14.5mm. That's the same depth as we had on the original 47, and it actually comes in with a weight of only 58 grams. That weight does include the silicone band, which is included. If we move to the middle one, this is the middle size of the new range. So this was the original size that we had with the EPIX Gen 2. It's a 47mm by 47mm, 14.5 depth, same depth as the smaller one, 70 grams in weight with the silicone band. And this is the one here you can see we've got with the titanium steel silver coloured bezel, and it's got a white band. So that is the 47mm one, and the largest one is 51mm. So this is 51 by 51. The depth of this one's slightly wider at 14.9, and it actually is 88 grams, so slightly heavier. So that is the one we've got with the carbon grey and the black band. Now when we look at the wrist sizes, I'll just go back to the smaller one. The band on the smaller one's to suit a wrist of 108 to 182mm diameter. The middle one, the band is to suit a wrist of 125 to 208mm, and the larger one, which is the 57mm one here, that one, sorry, the 51mm should I say, that one is to suit the 127 to 210mm wrist size. So again, we've got on the left hand side we have the 42mm bezel, the middle one is the 47mm bezel, and the larger one is the 51mm bezel. So all of these have got the tough sapphire screen and the lovely bright vivid AMOLED screen that we're used to on the EPIX range of watches. So one thing that's changed with the sizes now, we have some different battery lengths. So what I'm going to start with is actually the larger one. So this is where we've got the biggest change. We now have an extended battery life. So the 51mm one is a smartwatch that's going to last you weeks and not days. So we're looking at, with the 51mm as a smartwatch, you can get up to 31 days. So if you compare that to the 47mm, which is 16 days, it's an impressive change. With a larger unit, it's got a larger battery. That figure is 11 days if you've got the screen set to always on, but 31 days with the screen going off after a period of time. So 31 days, 11 days always on. GPS is impressive. So if you're recording with GPS, only 82 hours or 58 hours with the screen always on. All of these watches have the option of all satellite systems and multi-band for increased accuracy. So every one of these watches now, all satellite systems and multi-band. So if we look at the bigger one again with all satellite systems, we're looking at 62 hours or 48 hours with the screen always on. And if we go to the all satellites and multi-band, dual frequency to give you the best satellite signal when you're in a more challenging environment, we're still looking at a very impressive 38 hours or 30 hours with the screen on the always on setting, which is really impressive for an AMOLED screen. So if we go to the 47mm one now, we're looking at, we mentioned smartwatch 16 days or 6 days with the screen always on. GPS only, still an impressive 42 hours or 30 hours with the screen always on. And with the all satellite systems, we're looking at 32 hours or 24 hours always on. And multi-band, which is all the satellite systems with multi-band dual frequency for a really challenging environment, we're still getting up to 20 hours or 15 hours with all the screen always on, so still very impressive. The smaller unit, of course, we're going to have a lesser battery, but I think for an AMOLED, bright AMOLED screen, it's still very impressive. 10 days as a smartwatch or 4 days always on. If we go to GPS only, we've still got a very impressive 28 hours or 20 hours always on. All satellite systems is 21 hours or 16 hours with the screen set to always on. And the multi-band dual frequency, 13 hours or 10 hours with it always on. So just talking about the satellite systems, GPS is the American system. So GPS only uses less battery, but you're only locking on to one set of satellites. But when you're in a more challenging environment, going for the middle setting of the multi-band is really impressive. You're locking onto a few sets of satellites in one go, which is great. But then if we go to that, what we talk about, the multi-band dual frequency, everything on and dual frequency, we're getting the low and high frequency signals from the GPS and the Galileo satellites, and that really does help when you're in a more challenging environment. It could be high buildings to the side of you, cliffs, etc., deep tree coverage. So that was just a little bit of insight in the battery life, but I think the big changes has really been we now have the 51mm giving you that really impressive battery life with a larger one, 31 days max as a smartwatch, and GPS only 82 hours, which we think is great. Now, while we're talking about battery life, in the box with the watches, you actually come with the charger. I'll take a look at the middle size one. We'll show you what the charging cable looks like. It's actually a USB-C now at one end. So if you've got a plug with an output USB-C, or you've got a power bank with a USB-C, that'll always give you a faster charge. And using USB-C, we're seeing these watches now charge in sort of an hour compared to the 2 hours they used to charge in, so it's really quick to charge them as well. So I'll just show you that charger. If I take this one out the box and just move it to one side, so inside the box you've got the normal charging end that we get with all of the Garmin watches now, typically the Phoenix and EPIX range with the 4 pins. But the side that goes into your plug, just bear in mind that is a USB-C now, so you'll need either an adapter from normal USB to USB-C or a plug that has a USB-C output. If you have got a plug with a USB-C output, that does do a faster charge, and it will improve your charging time with the watch. So you have got that new cable. So another thing that's changed with these watches, all of the watches have actually got a flashlight on them now, which we've not seen before on the EPIX range. This is something we've seen on the Phoenix 7X. So if I just tip this one over, you can hopefully see there's just along here, there's actually an LED where you can have it on 3 different levels of flashlight, and you can also have it as a red LED as well, and as a strobe flashing for emergency as well. And it's amazing how much I've used this flashlight on a previous watch and found it so useful, just having it on your wrist and being able to get to it with just a single couple of taps of the button. You can set up one of the buttons, so a couple of taps and the flashlight's on, a couple of taps and it's off. So I have found that really useful in emergency when I've needed to get a light quickly. So all of the models across these 3 sizes have the flashlight on now. So another change we've got on the watches, we've now got the new Gen 5 Elevate heart rate sensor. So I'm just going to take this one out the box so you can have a look at it on the back. So it is slightly larger sensor to the one we had on previous watches. We haven't had a chance to test this yet, but Garmin are always looking to improve the accuracy of sensors on the units, and I'm sure we're going to see an improved accuracy on that new Elevate heart rate sensor. So this is the sensor on the back. You can see straight away it does have a lot more LEDs. So what we understand from having all these extra LEDs is they're designed to better handle sort of different workout types where your wrist is going to be bent in lots of different positions. It could be like weight training, those sort of activities, I suppose mountain climbing, where your wrists bend into lots of different angles. And also because of the new shape of it as well, it's got a slightly different shape and the larger size. It's designed to handle better inbound light leakage, basically to improve the readings. So there's a lot more LEDs on the back there as well. So it'll be interesting to see how we get on as we start testing the watch with the new Elevate 5 heart rate sensor. So we talked about initially the differences being, we've got the 3 different sizes now with the different band sizes and weights. All of these watches have the multi-band and dual frequency. All of these watches now have the flashlight built in, and all of the watches have the new Elevate 5 heart rate sensor on the back. And we now have that USB-C charging cable, which is going to give us that faster charging. So that's where we've seen the changes come in. So physically, I suppose it's looking at the sizes as what's changed, and the fact physically we've got the flashlight on the unit and that new heart rate on the back. We are seeing a lot more activities that have been added as well. These might be things that get run out in some of the older watches with software updates, but we've got more team sport activities now that you can record, such as football and racket sports. So they have added more activities, and we have noticed there's some new features with regards to the metrics that you can record. There's a new feature called Hill Score, measuring your capability for running uphill. It sort of evaluates your progress over time based on the VO2 max recording. So the new Hill Score. There's a new Endurance Score feature, and again it's measuring your ability to sustain prolonged efforts. It combines training data from all of your pursuits to help you better understand how your training impacts your endurance, all based on VO2 measurements. It's got a new jet lag advisor, so that's something new, a new wrist-based running power. So it'd be nice to start getting out and testing these new features. Now, some of those new features you might find with software updates do get added to some of the previous models, but obviously the additional hardware features that we're seeing, we can't add those to an older watch as regards to the new heart rate sensor and the flashlight. So we're really looking forward to getting out and using these new EPIX 2 watches. Again, the big thing for me is it's a watch with a really bright, lovely AMOLED screen, but excellent battery life compared to other watches we've used in the past with AMOLED screens. So I hope you found this video useful. Full specs you'll find on our website under the gpstraining.co.uk store. We have our GPS watches, and in the filter at the top, if you select EPIX Pro, you'll then see these 3 watches listed, and in the specs you'll be able to look at the full specs listed for all 3 watches. And thanks for watching.